Olá! Estamos, deixa eu ver. Tudo bem, pessoas? Como estamos? Estão me vendo, me ouvindo? Tá tudo certo com o som ou não? Vou esperar. A gente sempre confirma no começo. Ah, muito bom. Não tem barulho de fundo atrapalhando? Tudo certo? Bom demais. Deixa eu ver aqui as pessoas pra gente dar oi. Tem bastante gente aqui. Vamos lá, como sempre. Muito bom, mano, muito bom. Eu ouvo e vejo, não é isso? Estou ouvando você muito bem. Como é que vocês estão? Hoje o cabelo tá na régua. Tá nada, precisa pentear, tá? Do jeito que acordei, não fiz nada. Tá, mas eu cortei sexta-feira? Sexta-feira eu cortei o cabelo. É, ok, let's switch the language we'll be talking, right? This is what you're coming for. So, who do we have here? We have Georgiani. Hello. We have Rosa. Hello, Rosa. Kenji, always here. Good to see you again. Marlene, hello. Manu, I already said hi. Hi, Manu. Hi, Bruna. Who else? Who else? Anderson is also here. Hello, Angela. Who else sent a comment? Tatiane, Elisangela. Good evening for you as well. Sandro, boa noite, Sandro. Verônica, hi. José Batista, how are you doing tonight? And Joseli, hello, Joseli, how are ya? Let's see, make sure that I have everything that I need, because we do have a lot of stuff to talk about today. Today we're going to be talking about money. Anna, I think she is. She's downstairs in her office. I don't know if she's here exactly, but she's home. So I can yell, hey Thiago, how are ya? Hey Grazian, how's it going? If your name was American, it would be Grazian. How are you, Grazian? Sounds good, doesn't it? All right. So today it's going to be very fun. So what I've been asked to talk about, it's financials, things we need to care when you're planning a move to another country, right? And let me think about this. We will see some numbers, and I actually gonna bring my pay stub from 2017, so you guys are going to know exactly how much money I made when I moved here, and what were our expenses, and we're gonna talk about money, right? So if you're thinking about moving countries, if you're just like, I don't know, thinking about it, this is one more thing for you to think about. I think historically through our lives, like we looked at houses, at insurance. I think we looked at the economics as well, like how the economy is doing, and the American dream. So it's kind of all related, isn't it? Let me make sure that I have no comments for me. Okay, I don't. Like, people are interested in Erika. Okay, I get that. But you're stuck with me today. So let's jump into it. Ooh, cool. Make sure that everyone's here. Oh, there's a watermark here. Oh, I didn't see that. That's cool. I don't know how I got there. Oh, there. Oh, very cool. This. Erika added like a on the lower corner. If you're watching the you should have like a watermark here for you click and go to the channel. Yeah, that's very cool. Good job. Okay, so we're gonna get started by looking at how much money I made in 2017, and then we'll go from there. Okay. I expect to get questions and comments today, so I'll be flipping back and forth. Let's see if we can make this work. So there's a few disclaimers here, right? So the first one is, this is my pay stub from 2017. I'm going to be showing some numbers for some stuff from 2017. Things have changed. but we'll be looking at 2017 just to give you an idea. And one thing I think is important is every job, every person is different. So I think the purpose of bringing actual numbers here is just to like be transparent with you and give you like real life information. And because I know that people have different realities, so this is yeah. There's gonna be some numbers, Manu. I don't know if there's gonna be a lot of math. So I guess we're gonna see some numbers, but you're gonna learn some words that are related to finance and math, all the while looking at cool numbers. So this is the other thing too. We're gonna be doing the whole thing in Excel. Okay, so I made a bunch of spreadsheets. There's 3 pages here that we're gonna go through, and let's see if we can learn something today. So as you guys know, right, we came to the US in 2016. So what I'm gonna pull up here are the financial conditions that made it possible for us to come, right? So kind of the thanks, Marcus, for the compliment on the hair. So we're gonna talk about the finances that made it possible and how we started, and you guys are gonna see that while like when you're watching on TV, it might look like it's like people are only buying a lot of stuff, and they are actually, but it's not as simple as that, right? Like things look like they're cheap, and some of them are, but if you're not careful, like your money goes and you're not gonna see where it's going. Okay, so without further ado, this is the starting point. Let me move myself for this a little bit to there we go. So what you're looking at, and I hope that you guys can see if you're watching on a phone, I could probably zoom in. Oh, there's like I have it in spreadsheet, but this is what a pay stub looks like from the US. A pay stub, who knows what it is, what a pay stub is. I'm gonna have a sip of my drink while like this first piece of trivia happens. What is a pay stub? I'm waiting for answers to come through the chat. No answers yet. There wasn't time enough in between my question and you guys typing, but okay, gonna get it started because otherwise we're gonna be waiting a lot. So the pay stub, there you go, Veronica, very good. So it's Olerici, right? So this is one of my first pay stubs. So I started the job in, I think it was October of 2016, and this is from January, 1 week in January of 2017. So I just moved here. Me and Erika, we just have completed moving, and we were just getting used to it. So this is a pay stub. This is what it looks like. I have the numbers in the spreadsheet, so I'm going to move to the spreadsheet so it's a little bit more easily for you to see, but I wanted to actually show you a picture of it. So I blanked out like the personal information, I mean, other than the money, right? But like other personal stuff. So this is the first thing that is interesting. In here, in the US, you don't always get paid once or twice a month only, right? It depends on how the company wants to do. In the previous job that I had, where this pay stub is from, I got paid weekly. And in the current job, I get paid twice a month, so every 2 weeks, right? Contra-cheque is also good. Renato, eu vou falar em português. Eu entendo o seu pedido, né? Mas essa é a nossa aula geralmente que é toda em inglês. E eu tento falar como eu falo normalmente, porque é o que ajuda vocês. Então não preocupa se não pegar 100%, não é exatamente esse o objetivo, né? O objetivo desse método, vamos dizer, dessa forma, é você pegar um pouquinho do inglês, um pouco do conteúdo e no final das contas você aprender alguma coisa. Então não preocupa muito não com não entender tudo, tá bom? Eu acho que eu ia falar que tem a legenda, mas não tem legenda nessas lives. Enfim, mas a ideia é você pegar um pouquinho do inglês e um pouco do que a gente estiver conversando. So coming back. So this is the spreadsheet that I made so we can discuss the finance side, right? So as you can probably calculate, or if you jump directly into the number, right? I'm gonna highlight it here. I'm gonna put it in like what nice color. Let's put it in this blue here. No, this sucks. So let's make it in like this yellow, right? Okay. So this is what I got paid my first year here in the US. So around $85,000 a year, or roughly $6,500 per month. So this is like with this salary, that's how we came to the US, right? And before we get into the expense side, I wanna go through a few of the discounts of the stuff we pay from the direct from the source, you know? So if you look here at the breakdown, I got paid every week. So this is the gross paid. Who knows what gross is? This is the gross pay for every week, which means that every Thursday, every week, I would get this amount in my, not in my bank account because there's the discount. So we're gonna look at the discounts. But this would be my gross pay. Gross means bruto, right? So if we say go gross pay, we're talking about the pagamento bruto, before taxes and before anything else taken out of it, right? So we already, I think we talked about taxes maybe in passing, but here's a breakdown of how much I paid in taxes in 2017 for my income, right? So out of the $1,600 or $1,634 that I got paid every week, $300 went for federal income tax. So this is imposto de renda. So every week I would get this money, but before they would take this amount for the federal income tax. So this is for the country, right? Then there would be a smaller bite for the state income tax. And this is something that we already discussed before, how the US has federal and local state income taxes, and how that is a way for states to compete in a way to bring people, right? So Iowa, if I'm not mistaken, I think the income tax is 7%. Oh, we can probably do the math here real quick. So if, I don't know, yeah, 4 or 5%, sounds like. So state tax in Iowa is 5%, or used to be. And the federal tax, I got a discount of around 17% from the top. And this is Iowa. If you go to Florida, I think Texas, for example, you don't have income tax. So if I lived in Florida, I would save in this salary about $4,000 a year, right? So it's about 7%, 5% of this amount here. So 5%. So that is a good reason for people to move, because they don't have to pay tax, right? So okay, we take federal income tax out, we take state income tax, then we have Social Security. Who knows what that is? Social Security. Guesses? We have that in Brazil as well. Let's give it another second. And think about the next stuff, like, because I'm gonna ask about what the other stuff is. No, Sandro, this is not life insurance. No, this is, there you go, Seguro Social, Previdência Social. So this is the money that I paid for being old, right? For whenever we get old, this is how much I'm contributing to that. And also for the other social programs, right? So like if there's, we talked about last time, I think, when we were talking about like benefits, if there's programs that state runs for people, like I think most of them come out of this. And the interesting thing, at least I found, is I used to pay this, but I could never benefit from it because I wasn't a permanent resident yet. I didn't have a green card. So for 6 years, I contributed to this. But if I got fired, like if I needed some sort of help from the government, I would never get that. So this is cool, like cool from like not to say something else. You come here, you work, you pay taxes, and you don't get to use them while you're in a work visa, right? So this is it's something. Then the other tax is Medicare, which we talked about before, for sure, right? So Medicare is a portion of my payment that goes to fund the health insurance for the elders, right? So for when you get old and you cannot afford health insurance, that's where the money comes from, right? So just in taxes per week, I would pay. I should have put the percentages here, but I'll do this on the fly. So I would pay roughly 30% of my income in taxes. Then we start to talk about other stuff. So remember when we had the class about insurance, health insurance, and other types of insurance? I think we focused on health insurance only. But you also can have dental and vision insurance. So this is what I used to pay for those. So $3 per week for dental insurance, $43 per week per medical insurance for me and Erika, and then $3 for vision insurance. Right? These are three separate things. It's not all together. So if you look monthly, here you go. It's about $200 that came out of my paycheck to cover for these expenses. Then it's not over yet. So this is the 401k. Who knows what a 401k is? I think we talked about this as well. Who knows? Who knows? In the meanwhile, I'll talk about this. So this is the other one, line 16 here, is the YMCA, not from the song. But it's a very common and spread gym. Let's call it a gym, right? But it's more like a community center. So it's what does it mean? I don't know what YMCA means. So YMCA, it's the young. What does YMCA stand for? So it's the Young Men's Christian Association. Oh, cool. I didn't know that it had to do with Christianity. So it's the Y. So this is kind of a club that like a lot of people, like anyone can really join. And it's supposed to be affordable, cheap, right? So my company, they had a partnership. So I paid like 48. Sounds wrong. I paid 48 per month to join it. But anyway, it's supposed to be at a discount. I think it's cheaper because like I was paying for 2, so I think this is right. So 401k is okay. Nobody got it. So this is the retirement plan. It's one type of retirement plan, aposentadoria. It's because there's no public retirement plan. You have to pay for yourself, right? It's different from Brazil where you can retire and get some money every month. Here, I don't think it exists in the same way. So you have to care for yourself, and the way you do that is essentially investing money, right? So this is the difference between the reason why it has a special name is because you don't pay taxes in the money that you put here. So more about this in a second. So if we come to the totals, right? Let's take a look at the totals. So this is 2017. So per week, I was making $1,600, but I was coming home for me to spend. I had $1,000 a week, right? So about $4,000 a month net, coming out of 6,500 gross. So if we look at the whole thing, I think I saw it like 30%, right? Did I do that already? So yeah, 36%. If you consider like the payments for medical insurance and whatnot. And then yearly, I would make this amount, but would get paid really this, right? Like so, 53,000 a year. But there's a few caveats in there. 401k, like I said, I got that discounted directly from my paycheck into an investment account. So really, this is my money. I'm just not gonna use it now. But at some point in my life, I hope I'm alive, I'll be able to enjoy it. So this is going to an account that is getting like it's stocks, funds, and whatnot. So this is being invested, right? So this is really still money. And then the following year, when come tax return time, right? Which is, what is tax return? Tax return is imposto de renda. You gotta do your tax return. You gotta tell the government how much you made and how much you gotta pay. At that time, I would get like about $10,000 back, right? So because here, this tax is coming directly from my paycheck, like I'm paying in advance, and then when next year, when come times to do the full declaration, and I really do the math and say, oh look, this is how much I made, this is how I spent, I would get some of that money back, right? So if you put that money back on top of this, which was the money that I actually got to spend every month, plus the 401k that I'm going to use someday, but not today, actually what I made was 66,000. Ooh, and I think I did something wrong here. Yes, I did something wrong here. So I'm saying that like my effective tax rate is 22%, but I think it's a little bit less. So the tax rate I'm doing on top of like the whole thing. Oh no, this is actually no, yeah, it's wrong. So this is wrong. Like it should be a little bit lower than this. I'm not gonna fix it right now, but like how much I actually paid in taxes, I think it was around like 18%, right? So before I move on, you guys, I don't know if you guys have questions about this. I'm gonna go through the chat, and I'll move on to the next slide, which is a sheet here in the spreadsheet after I got to the question. So let me scroll up here. So 401k, we talked about that. It's not participação nos lucros, Georgiani. That will be profit distribution. Grazian is asking about Medicare tax. You can use it that, like if you can afford medical insurance, you can get free medical assistance. No, Grazian, that's not how it works. Medicare, if you go like my class from last month, I think we talked about health insurance, and I went into more details on that. Medicare is a program for the elderly, for old people, right? When you're above 65, you get some help from the government at that point, since there's no like free medical care in the US. So this is my contribution to those programs, right? I cannot use it. This is just tax. Like it's me helping the people in need, in the hopes that whenever I get old, there's still gonna be young people providing for myself. So Kenji is asking 401k 401,000. That is correct, Kenji. But like usually you say 401k. Rosa, yeah, YMCA is the gym. It's the Young, what is it again? The Young Men's Christian Association. So it's essentially like a gym, like a club. Like there's weights for you to lift. There's like track fields. There's pools. It's like a club, where you go do stuff, exercise, and do activities. There's like a tennis tables, like all sorts of things. It depends on where you are. So every city kind of has one of them. So it's a non-profit thing. So Marcos, call out. Okay, so call out. Let's see the definition before I translate, right? So define call out. Okay, so a statement drawing critical attention to something. So it's me calling your attention to this, right? So it's atenção, a parte, importante. So while we were talking about the income, there's this kind of parenthesis here that I wanted to call out to you guys. Valeria is asking if I have private retirement. Yes, so this is what we just talked about. So in 2017, my private retirement account, this was my first year in the US, had $2,500 in it. So this is my private retirement. There you go. So Thiago is adding more info, and Rosa is saying thanks. Cool. So this is about income. Now you guys know how much money I made. So we could come here. So this was a job offer that I got while in Brazil, and this is I found, like, I did my research. I said, okay, I think Erika and we can go, and we can like this amount of money can work, right? So let's go into expenses and then a little bit more into some other statistics here. Cool. So let me acknowledge how privileged I am, because we saw the amount of money I was making in 2017, and these are recent statistics of some sort of, like, some prices, right? So the average salary today in the US is 59,000. So a little bit less than what I made in 2017. The average household income is 75,000. Also less than what I made myself in 2017. Do you know what household income is? Do you know what the difference between salary and household income? Take a guess. Or if you know, share. While you do that, I'm gonna start looking through some of the expenses that we had at that time, right? So this is like kind of more of the common stuff, because I think the idea here is what kind of things you should be looking at if you're planning on moving, right? Like to a different country or whatever. So at that time when we moved, we used to pay almost $1,400 a month for rent. So we were renting at a time, and this was the monthly rent. We had heated house, so that was heated by gas. During summer, when we were not using a lot of the heating, or essentially not using it, it was just to heat the water, I would pay $20 per month. Water was around $90. Energy, electricity, right, at that time was around, I think, $50, and internet about like 60. So this is, we usually call these things utilities. So let's put it here. So these are utilities. I don't know why they call that, but this is just what they call it. Oops, there you go. Make it nice here. Okay, so these are utilities. Then I would pay. This is looking wrong too. Now that I'm saying it back, while I was doing this, it sounded right, but I think this was like per semester, I think. I could be wrong here because this is a little old. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. So this is car insurance. So this is a seguro de carro, right? So I was paying, this was per semester. So like per month it was like, okay, so let's do this. So I think I was paying like $20 a month, kinda, for car insurance. And then for my car, at the time, we were paying $210 a month. So this was a car that we bought for $18,000, putting 7 down, and over a 6-year period, with an interest rate, I think around like 11% or something. I'm gonna go into a little bit more details over this on the next spreadsheet here. But the point is, I spent $200 a month paying cars, right? One car. Then groceries. So on the grocery store for food, right, and stuff you buy on a daily basis, I think we spend like around $600 a month. And at that time, we paid $48 per cell phone. In this case, it was just Erika's, because the company I worked for, they gave me, I had a cell phone there, so I didn't have to pay for it. So it was just one. And then this is what we spent monthly on gasoline. So about the same amount that I paid for my car is what I spent in gasoline, right? So this is kind of the high level fixed costs that I had every month, that we had every month, right? So if you go back here, I was taking home 4,100. So let me copy this here. Oops. Let me paste this here. Okay, so this was what I made. Then if we take the fixed stuff out of it, this is what I was left with, right? So here's just, let's say, the basic stuff. Housing, like utilities, a car. And in the US, unfortunately, unless you really live downtown in a city and you work there, you need a car. So a car is very basic. Plus groceries and whatnot. And I was left with $1,400 a month. So think about that. You just moved to a new country. You have an empty house because there's no furniture. There's nothing, right? And after you pay all of your expenses, you have this. So with this money, we had to like have fun. So like go out to eat, go like to the movies, whatever. We had to buy furniture. So we had to buy our bed, our couch. This is the reason why it took us 2 or 3 years, I think, for us to buy our first couch, right? When we moved here, we slept on a air mattress for like 3 or 4 months, if not more, because like we needed to save money to buy the mattress. So it was, it was okay. It wasn't super easy, but it was fun. It was okay. We could make it, right? So before I keep going, let me go back here because I think I left some unanswered questions. So household income, Manu is right? So average salary is, you get the amount of people the amount of money that people get paid in the country, and you divide by the number of people. So essentially, on average, how much people make. This is the same thing, but you divide by the amount of homes or houses. So on average, each house makes 75,000, which is larger than the average salary, and it makes sense because usually more than one person lives in the house, and if you have a house, maybe your income is a little bit higher. So there's all that, right? So it's the difference between the individual and the house, or however many people live in the house. Grazian, $20 per month for car insurance. It was very cheap. Like I was 28 or 29. I was married. We use the car very little. We live in a small town, so there's not really a lot of reasons why insurance would be more expensive. So this is the other thing. So Grazian reminded me of something that is very important to call your attention to, right? These numbers are from Iowa. If you live in a big city, all this, like a lot of this fixed stuff, is going to be more expensive, right? So if you live in like New York or like Chicago, California, like Los Angeles, San Francisco, so the amount that I pay, I remember at that time, like once I think we went to visit, we met like a couple in Chicago. And if I'm not wrong, so our house, the house that we paid $1,400 a month, was like a 3-bedroom, very big house, like there's backyard and whatnot. We had a couple of friends that lived in Chicago downtown, like close to the center. And I think for a 2-bedroom apartment, no backyard, no nothing, I think they paid like $4,000, right? I know of people who pay over $10,000 in rent, like in New York, even Florida, or like in Los Angeles. It's very expensive. So it really varies where you're going. So when you look at the money, it looks like it's a lot. But if you go to a big city, for example, here, we saw that I was making this amount, right? So 85,000. This, I wouldn't be able to live in a big city with this amount. I mean, I would be able to, but the life would be worse, much worse. So that's why, like, before moving, before accepting a job offer, you gotta take into account the location where you're going, right? Okay, so let's keep moving. I'm gonna get to your point, Thiago. So here are some other stuff that I thought it was interesting to bring, so you can compare the prices, right? And this is a little bit more recent. So a number one meal, a Big Mac, McDonald's, right now it's costing 8.89 cents, $8.89. McDonald's, like 5 minutes from here. If you go to a bar and you get like a local beer, no, not a local, like a generic regular beer, a shop draft beer, right? It's gonna be like $3. If you have like a fancy beer, the good stuff, the craft beer, it can go as high as $7. Restaurant prices, that hasn't changed a lot. But if you sit down, let's say in a Mexican restaurant, you have like rice and beans and maybe a piece of meat or a burrito or whatever, you're looking at maybe $10. If you're going to like a steakhouse to have like a piece of meat or even some other type of food in a better place, a little bit more fancy, it can be up to $25. And again, like the limit, the upper limit is there's no limit really, right? Like if you go to, I don't know, there's fancy restaurants where you're gonna spend per meal, like just the food, I don't know, $100, $200, right? This is just kind of a local, some prices here. It's very hard to find here where we live a place where one dish, one meal is going to be more than $25. So the other important cost, if you have kids, which a lot of us do, right, is daycare. So if you're going to send your kid to a daycare, it's going to be from $1,200 to $1,800. Right? If you want a nanny, like we do, so you guys know that we have a nanny, and this is what we pay her. So this is kind of on the low end, but we've seen prices as high as this. So Diane, yes, your question is right. We pay more in childcare than we pay in our house. I could buy a better, bigger house with the amount that I pay for childcare. So I could buy, like, we could buy a better, bigger house with the same money that we pay for childcare. So just so you have an idea how hard it is for people, let's say that you're a single parent, right? Either a mom or a dad. And if you make this amount of money like I did, so look again, this is like the gross, and this is the net, and how after expenses, right? The basic expenses, this is how much I had left. At that time, if this is what I made it, like if I made this today, I wouldn't be able to pay for childcare. And it was just like me, So it's tough. So when you look at the people living here and buying stuff and whatnot, there's two things that are happening. They either make a lot of money, which there's certainly people who do, or they don't have a lot of money. They borrow a lot of money, So a lot of this is borrowed. But let's keep going. So diapers, because it's also like it's a day thing, right? So 120 diapers is right now costing like $39, $40 essentially. Some like ideas of furniture. A 3-seat sofa. If you go to Walmart, you're gonna pay as low as like $397 for a couch, for a sofa. It's not a very good one, but it's gonna work, right? But a decent one, it's gonna run you up to like 2,500, right? So I think the one we bought, it was like 1,000 and something, like 3 years after we had moved in, right? Like we didn't have a couch for 3 years. And then a mattress. This is also the reason why we waited like months to buy it, is because like we did at the time. I don't think there was mattress this cheap, because these are decent mattresses for $400. We wanted something better, so we waited like a few months to buy it. We saved the money, and we still have the same mattress. Like it's from 2016, so it's gonna be 8 years. The mattress we have, I think we paid $800 at a time or something. So like a decent range is like, if you want to get like kind of upper end mattress, like 3,000. Of course, there's more expensive mattress. If you're going for the low end, it's $430. So going back to Thiago's question. So Thiago, this is like, I put this so you guys have a context, like for like averages are not very good, you know, like averages is just for you to have an idea, because they are essentially the average, right? Like they don't represent anything on the both spectrums, right? So this is the average. It's like public, private, it doesn't matter what course you're doing, right? But the point is, even the average is very expensive. You can go to college for like as cheap as $20,000, depending on the degree you want to do, and if it's a local state, or you can pay up to, I don't know, $300,000. So a good range would be this to this, right? So this is kind of like a community college, local, that is like nobody knows about, but it gives you a degree. It would be like Uniban in Brazil, right? Like, so Uniban is like $20,000. If you want to go to the best of the best, Harvard or like MIT, like Berkeley, Stanford, depending on the course, like medicine, like if you want to become a doctor, it might cost you upwards of $300,000, right? So if you want to come to the US and you have kids and you plan on someday paying for their college, this is what you would be looking at. So if we were to put it in months, let's see how much this average one would be per month, 4 years, right? So it would be like $1,000 a month. Very expensive. And this is not even like a fantastic school. Okay, what else do we have here? Questions? So we talked about so the childcare is more expensive than rent. That is very true. Au pair is common, Valerio, and is cheaper than we actually pay. So if we got an au pair, it would be cheaper than this. But here's the thing. The au pair, they have to live with you, right? So that's the only way. So we debated that idea, and then we couldn't. It's, you know, like it's the three of us, like me, Erika, and Benjamin, and thinking of having someone living here. I don't know. We thought about it, and I think we couldn't make the leap and accept it. It's just like, okay, no, we're gonna spend more, but it makes sense, right? Like when it's, I think someone is asking if, Marcos is asking if the nanny stays full time, right? They can work as much as you want, right? So the 2,400 would be the equivalent of 4 weeks, 40 hours a week, right? So $15 an hour. This is what we pay, and minimum wage is $7.50, so we pay twice as much as minimum wage, and it's decent. It's okay. So they can stay like they can work as many hours as you want. I think like Ima is usually with us like about 30 hours a week or so. So not full time, but also not like just part time, half of the like what would be part time in Brazil, like just 4 hours a day. So it's about six. It's a little bit more than 6 hours a day. Actually, if I'm being fully transparent, like it's 8 hours a day, but like it's Monday through Thursday. So it's actually 32 hours a week usually. It depends. It varies a bit. So I think someone asked, what is a diaper? Diaper is fralda. I can't see who asked, but I remember seeing, but like diaper is fralda. Luis, what I think about health insurance? It's very expensive. So I guess that maybe you missed the class we did only about health insurance. It's like a month ago. It was. If you go into Hotmart, I think you can find like I think we spent like an hour and 20 minutes talking about it, where I go in detail. So this like what you see here for health insurance, right? This is just my portion of the insurance that I get through work, but I still pay a little bit. The company at the time. So this was in a year it was around 2,000 that I paid, but my company paid 16,000 on top of that. And this is more like what health insurance is. So if you go to the other classes, you're gonna see that I think, if I'm not mistaken, I would say like it's about 1,800 a month. Yeah. So like if you don't work and you wanna get like insurance and pay for yourself, you'd be looking at least at this amount, right? It's very expensive health insurance here. Anyways, then the average house price in Iowa is 209,000, right? And the average car price, the new car price sold in the U.S. today is 47,000. Look here, for mine, the first car that we bought, like I bought a used car that was like I don't know 3 or 4 years old, and we paid 18,000 at the time. So this is the other thing that I wanted to call out. You see people driving, like when you see like Instagram and like YouTube, and you see people driving really nice cars, right? It is possible. You can. Like I could go and come home with I don't know, if whatever nice car you think about, like I don't know, Mercedes or like a BMW or like a big SUV, but I would be paying, instead of $200 a month, I would be paying like I don't know, $1,500. There's a lot of people who pay this insane amount of money for their cars, and they cannot afford it. So years ago, like 10 or 15 years ago, the maximum loan term that you would see for a car loan would be 4 years. Nowadays, you can buy in 7 or 8 years. So they're spreading it so people can afford more expensive cars. So whenever you see people driving fancy cars on Instagram, on the internet, there's three things that's happening. They are either rich and they make a lot of money and they can really afford it. It's very old, right? And the car is like broken. Like we have, like we know of people here that they come, they move here, and they buy like a 10-year-old or 15-year-old Mercedes just to like be fancy. But if the car like breaks, they have no money to fix it, right? So that's the two. So they're really old car. Or what most Americans do is they buy a car that they cannot afford, right? The interesting part is, I think I was looking yesterday, 80% of the American population do not have savings for a $500 emergency. So like more than 80% of the population they literally there's no savings. Like they nothing can happen out of the plan. Otherwise, they have no way. Like they don't have the money, right? So people are spending a lot without having it. Plus, let's Google this. What's the average credit card debt in the U.S.? So here, the average American household owes $8,000 in credit cards. Let that sink in. So the average person, right, has $8,000 in debt with the credit card because everything they buy is on credit card. They cannot make the payments. But again, this is the average. A lot of people, if we had like a curve here to see the actual distribution, you would see that there's a lot of people with $20,000, $30,000 in debt with credit card. So this is how like you see people with nice cars, because you can buy a car in credit card. I'm not saying that people do that. I'm just saying that you can. You can buy anything with a credit card. So that's what people do. Like when you see them wearing like fancy clothes, driving a fancy car, more often than not, they cannot pay for it. It's everything is on credit. It's like they owe a lot of money, right? And talking about loans, if you're thinking about moving to the country, right? Let's go through some interesting exercises here. And here's going to be a little bit of math, Manu. So this is the car that I bought. I think these were the conditions that I bought the car at the time, right? So my car, I paid $18,000 for the car. I had $7,000 saved, right? So I put that as a down payment, a entrada. It's called down payment. So actually, what I borrowed is this, right? So I borrowed $11,000. At the time, I think my interest rate, because my credit score was terrible, was 11% per year. And I think I bought, I don't know if it was 72 or 60. I think it was more like this. So that's how this is how much I paid every month. And let's put 72 just stay consistent here. So this is what I paid every month, and this is how much my actual 11,000 loan costs over the time, right? So 15,000, that's what I paid back. Essentially, I paid 37% of the amount I borrowed in interest over the period of 4 or 5 years, or maybe 6, I can't remember. So here's an exercise. The current car that we have is also not paid off, but I pay 2.9% in interest. Look at the difference. It's from like 37%, like 4,000 in interest versus like just 1,000. So the economy, however it's doing at a time that you plan on moving, is gonna have it's gonna be a big deal, because especially if you're looking at a house. So okay, this is also our situation here. Now you guys are seeing, like, looking at the finances. We're talking finance very openly here. So the house we live in, this is the price tag. This is how much we paid. I mean, not we, the bank, right? Because we didn't have that amount of money. So I put down, like entrada, 16,000, right? So my loan was really for $300,000. With the interest, so this is, I think, 35-year, with the interest rate of 2.9. So this is like before the pandemic. So the interest rates were like all-time low. It was 2.9 per year. This is not per month, right? So I don't know why the math is not adding up, but we don't pay this. We pay more than this. We pay 1,800. But anyways, this is, if you're buying the house again in these circumstances, this is how much you'll be paying. and this is how much it would be costing you. Like, so 60% of the original value is how much you'd pay interest. So this is like 2019. If you look at today's interest rates, if you get a good interest rate, you're gonna get like 6%. Look at the difference. The same house, the same amount of down payment, and the same time, the same length of the loan. Look at the difference in the monthly payments. It's ridiculous. So if you ever thinking about, it's like 30 something percent more expensive right now. So, and you go, like, instead of just paying 60% on top of everything, like the price of the house more than doubles it, right? So if you're planning on moving, also have to be mindful of this, right? Okay, I'm gonna go with the questions. No questions would like to share, blah blah blah. Okay, yeah, so people talking, cool. So a quick recap, right, of what we saw today. And if you have questions, I think we're almost on time, but we can stay a little bit more. So we talked about income. So we saw how much one person can make doing what I did. How much, so we learned about total gross, the net, which is like the líquido, right? The pagamento líquido no fim do mês is the net. We talked about 401k, tax return, tax rates, effective tax rates. We looked at some expenses. So when you see on the internet, like, people spending a lot of money, it's usually most people are drowning in debt. And we also can see that after everything was paid, not a lot was left for us. That's why it takes, like, whenever you're changing countries, it takes a long time for you, if you do it, like, well, I mean, in my opinion, for you to build your house, like, to have, like, furniture and whatnot, because, like, there's not a lot of money that's there, and you're building, like, you're starting from scratch. So if you want to do it nicely, it takes time. So you gotta save, and then you can buy stuff. We look at some of the, like, most common costs of common things, some prices of average stuff that some people want to do, and then we finally looked at, like, calculating, like, some loans and looking at interest rates. How about that? Cool? Questions? Let me pause for a sip and wait if there's questions or not. If not, I'm gonna start my goodbyes. CNPJ, Georgiane? What do you mean? Do you want to know the name of the CNPJ number? Or what is like a company? CNPJ doesn't exist, right? Like, that is the name of something from Brazil. What about the taxes for companies? There's one thing I can say. I don't know how familiar you are with accounting in Brazil, but in Brazil, if you have a company and I think you make less than, your revenue is less than 70 million reais a year, you can use lucro presumido, which is like a fixed way to calculate taxes, right? If you make more than 70 million, you gotta do lucro real, which is, okay, your income, your revenue minus the expenses, and you pay taxes on top of that. The way that the American tax system works is, for companies, is all lucro real. So you pay taxes on whatever the company, like, had left in the bank at the end of the year. So that's why a lot of companies try and save tax money. They make in a way that the company is not profitable, right? because they want to minimize the amount of taxable income. I don't know if that's what you asked, but this is what I can share based on the information on the question. Why the interest rate for houses become higher? So it's like I don't know a lot about it, but like it's just like in Brazil, right? So the economy slowed. There was inflation, so the Fed, the Federal Reserve, the department, the division of the government that cares for the interest rates, they have been uh, increasing the basic percentage rate, right? So just like Brazil. So let's say what's the base percentage interest US 2024? Okay, so it's five. I think this is yeah. So it's 5.6%, and if you look at let's say 2019, it was like 2%. So 2% is how much the government pays you if you lend them money, right? So if you buy like bonds, public bonds, títulos da dívida pública, por exemplo, right? So the government is gonna pay you, used to pay you like 2% in 2019. So it made sense for people to lend money at 2.9, for example, because they would be making almost 1% more, almost half, like almost 50% of the base percentage rates. So it makes sense. It's way more return than the basic interest if you lend the money to the government. Nowadays, with the interest rate at 5 points, this is kind of the same thing, but like they're making way less return when they loan you at a 6%. So the economy is not doing so well. Inflation got up, like people got fired last year. So the Fed has been increasing the basic interest rates, and that's what gets transformed to the consumer interest rates. Okay, Georgiani, that doesn't exist here. The May thing is different. Like you know how if you didn't have a May open in Brazil, if you were to pay tax rates like a pessoa física, it would be 27% and a half on everything you make, right? With May, you don't pay taxes, you just pay like this. So here, you pay, like, this is just regular tax. There's no reason for you to, like, these divisions of types of businesses, they do not exist. So it's simpler here. You either pay progressively as income, like so you start on the lowest bracket for see federal tax brackets 2024. So for example, if you make $11,000 here, you'd pay 10% in tax. And then like if you make like a 191, you'd pay 24%, but like it's in these brackets, right? So you just have the two choices. You either pay everything as income, and you pay based on this table here, or you open a company, and you pay based on your profits, and that's it. Like it's much simplified. It doesn't have all the complication that we have in Brazil. Marcos, credit score is. Oh, okay. I think so you're asking how do you increase the credit score to have small tax? So I think I understand your question, but it's mildly incorrect. Tax is imposto. you're asking about taxa de juros, right? So that is interest rate. So credit score, the way you get a better credit score is by uh, getting loans. So having debt. So if you pay them on time, if you do not have, like, if you have like a ratio of, I think, up to 30% of your income. So for example, if you make $100,000 and you don't, you owe up to 30,000, then you get bonus points. So there's a lot of factors, but it's never missing a payment. So paying on time is the amount of credit that you have, the number of companies that extended you credit, it's the amount of credit that is not used, it's related to your income. There's I don't know, 10, 12 factors. The length, for how long you have had this credit history. So there's a lot of factors that factor in your credit score. And if you have a better credit score, you get lower interest rates whenever you're borrowing money. And if you have a worse credit score, you get a higher interest rate because they don't trust you as much to pay things. Therefore, you pay more interest, right? Kind of like in Brazil, but here the system is a little bit more transparent. In Brazil, I think they try to put like a similar credit score system in place, but I don't know if people are using that a lot. I guess cadastro positivo, as far as I remember. Tiago, I think Erika is going to make the spreadsheet available. Yes, sure. Let's see. Okay, cool. So if we have no more questions, I'm going to thank you guys for being here today. Thank you for staying with me. I hope that you not only have enjoyed this, but you also have learned something. And as always, if you have suggestions, if there's anything you'd like me to see talking about, please let us know. Send a message to Erika, like Hotmart, whatever. You'll let us know, and I'll work on whatever subject you'd like to see me presenting. And that is it. You guys have a nice night. Let's bring a song back. Okay, let's keep on the same vibe as before. You guys have a good night. Thank you. Bye-bye.